All right, Father, welcome to this interview on my deep and regional ancestry provided by the Genographic Project by National Geographic.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. So, I know you're probably excited or curious to see my results, my genetic results, for this test. But before we get into that, I would like to first explain how National Geographic and the scientists at National Geographic figured out or discovered or was able to trace my ancestry.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good. So, after I sent in my DNA sample to National Geographic, and they sequenced it and got my genetic code.
Yes.
All right, calm down. I'm just let me finish.
Speed it up.
Oh my God. So, what they did was they looked at certain mutations along my genetic code, and see, many people in their system and around the world share a lot of these mutations that I have because they were acquired by humans up to even like 100,000 years ago, right? So that out of since the beginning of the human race, humans have been accumulating and passing down different mutations in their DNA or alleles. And so the different combinations of these alleles in my DNA are called haplotypes. So a haplotype is just a combination of like of a combination of alleles that are unique to a certain group, right?
I understand.
So we would be part of, unless I've experienced a mutation in my own life, which I probably have not. We are a part of the same haplogroup because we're the same haplotype because we have the same combination, which makes sense because you're my dad. But I might also be of the same haplogroup as someone else. I don't know. Someone else in our family, I guess, most likely. Most of our families probably, or at least most of the men in our family, are a part of the same haplotype.
Okay, I got you.
The reason that I say men is because what I've been looking at is my the DNA that National Geographic got from my Y chromosome. So for men and women, it's different. When receiving genetic this ancestry test, women only they can only look at the DNA they got from one of the women's cells, mitochondria. But you can also look at a Y chromosome for the same mutations in the same DNA, but women don't have Y chromosomes. Only men do. So the mitochondria lets me see my maternal ancestry, which only women can see. So if only women can see their maternal ancestry, but men can see both their maternal and paternal because they have mitochondria, because they're in most of your cells. And then we also have a Y chromosome, which lets me see my paternal ancestry.
I got you.
So they looked, so they looked at both of those, and they used that to trace like my deep ancestral path out from Ethiopia, Africa, all the way up until more than 100,000 years ago, when the first humans became humans.
Right.
And all the way up into about like 15,000 years ago, where if you'd like to see a map here, I can show you. I know this is an audio recording, so here at 100,000 plus years ago, it starts around, the southern Africa.
I got you.
But then, as humans migrate, to the up North Africa, Arabian Peninsula, Eurasia, and then takes like a little detour over to Central Asia, but then comes back to Eastern Europe. That's your parental path.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see.
Of course, you see the different lines that are coming. The orange marker shows exactly where my ancestors traveled, or basically where they traveled, right? But see, these other lines are where ancestors from that person have also traveled. So see, this might be the last image they gave me of my deep ancestry.
Yes.
You see these new lines forming. They're going, they're going to Britain, they're going to Spain, they're going to Italy.
Right, I got you.
And they're going all the way in between too. Like you see, they split off at around where Germany is. So okay, now that you've seen that, and now that you know more or less understand. Well, first of all, do you have any questions on anything I've just talked about?
No questions so far.
No questions so far?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Thank God. Okay, so, based on what I just showed you or attempted to show you the images here, I want to know and based on, family knowledge and, cultures that we participate in and, stuff like that, how would you predict what my regional ancestry is?
Well,
or at least, well, let's start with yours, because that, of course, doesn't involve mom, because I also have half of mom's. So let's just talk about yours. So what do you think, your regional ancestry is? Where exactly? You can reference certain specific countries, or, if you can't do that, narrow it down to, any area you choose.
Well, I've always been told that we have, an Eastern European background, specifically Germanic, Polish, Prussian, and that's kind of where the Mavis family, or that's where I've always been told that was.
Well, yeah, I was told Mavis is Prussian.
Prussian, yeah, and of course then my mother is Hendrix, which has been known for being as a Germanic name, and part of that comes from Britain too. So I would say Eastern Central Europe.
Okay.
Northern Europe, not including Scandinavia, obviously.
Okay.
That's what I've always been told, and I didn't do any research, but that's kind of what I've been always understood. But I'm curious to hear what you found, because I'm wondering if that's correct or not.
Do you know anything about what you might think of mom's ancestry? Because I know both her extended family and our extended family more or less celebrate German tradition.
Yeah, the same thing. From what I understand, she's told me it's German, Central Europe, Czech, but all that corresponds to some kind of Central European ancestry.
Right. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna go from smallest percentage. Oh, do you think? Okay. Oh, I forgot. So, what do you think? How would you predict my ancestry? We don't have to give percentages. You can just list off.
Well, I would think
areas.
It'd be close to the same, since Mom and I are what I think Mom and I are from. So I would think it'd be close to the same.
Mostly Central European.
Central European, Eastern European. That's what I think, but I don't know for sure. Could be Anglo-Saxon. I don't know.
Yeah, and we can discuss these as we go along.
All right. Yeah.
So there's 6 There's 6 regions in my regional ancestry, and these go back like roughly 500 to 10,000 years ago. So to the end of my deep ancestry that we discussed, all the way up until, more or less recently.
Okay.
So at the bottom we have Central Asia at 2%.
Central Asia. Okay.
Do you have any reaction to that?
No,
Did you know the statistic or something like, there's like 50% of people like of European descent or Asian something like have Central Asian in them
I would
because
think
of
so.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yes,
yeah. That makes sense to me.
Okay, so the next one is 4% of Asia Minor, which I've attributed to when my my deep ancestors, my distant ancestors, migrated out of Africa and then went up through Eurasia.
Yeah, went up through that area.
In Asia Minor.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
before they
that's
went
where
to...
I got that. And and we saw in your deep ancestry path they made a detour to Central Asia too,
yes.
so that's probably where that comes from.
That's right. That sounds
right.
Yep.
So and then the next one, 11%. So the other two, were kind of like, okay, that's just those are pretty ancient, right?
Right.
So here's kind of like the more significant ones. So 11% Eastern European.
Okay. Okay. Obviously I thought maybe higher, but
Eastern European for National Geographic, defines Eastern European as like the Slavic and Baltic countries. So
okay, I got
Russia, Poland, Ukraine, Romania, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and then Germany, sort of. Right?
And then Baltic meaning Latvia and Lithuanian and stuff too.
Yeah. So all those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah,
makes sense.
Eastern European. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 11% of that. So is this recording still going? Okay. All right. So the next one is 17% Great Britain and Ireland.
Okay.
Which, I mean, like, I didn't really, like, I understand, I speak English, I don't know, I don't really, I mean, like, we have no ties at all to Great Britain and Ireland, other than we're Caucasian, which they are also.
Yeah, I would think there's some, it doesn't surprise me that there's some cross percentage in there that's from that region, just because I think the region's so close to the Central European and Eastern European that you can have those influences within your ancestry.
Yeah. All right. Number 5 out of 6, 33% Western and Central Europe.
Okay.
So that's Germany basically.
Yeah.
Like one of my they also have reference populations where like which like specific countries or specific groups I am most like, so one of those is Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Western and Central. I don't know how much of that like is actually Western, because it's a pretty sizable area.
Yeah.
With a lot of diverse people. The people the natives of Spain look noticeably different than the natives of France and Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean,
so I'm sure but yeah, Western, they put that into one category. So I'm 33% Western or Central European.
Okay.
All right. Now that we've done Central Europe, which is what you thought my primary, so we have 33% left.
All right.
So that was 33%, and the last group is also 33. I'm also 1/3 of.
Okay.
Right? But we've already covered, the area of which Germany is in, both in Eastern Europe and Central Europe. So,
right.
What do you think this last?
Well, I guess there's only 2 areas that it could be. It could be either Southern Europe or Scandinavian.
Well,
I guess.
So like Mediterranean,
like,
or Scandinavia.
Mediterranean, which would be Southern Europe,
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, along the,
Portugal, Spain.
Portugal, Spain, European, or the other option would be
Greek.
Scandinavia, or Greece, Greek, Macedonian,
Yeah.
and then if it's not that, then it maybe Scandinavian, which would be obviously Norway, Sweden, or Finland.
Well, that was a good educated guess because it is Scandinavia. I am just as much Scandinavian, according to National Geographic, as I am German. I'm.
What's the percentage?
33%. They're both 33%. Western and Central Europe and Scandinavia.
Mm.
So, I don't know if Mom talked to you about this, but I talked to her. I showed her the results like the day I got it. Right.
Right.
This is like early December maybe. I can't remember exactly, but she was like, "Yeah." Well, okay. Before I get into that, let me just tell you my other reference population. I told you about Germany,
right,
or the German population. My other reference population is the Danish.
Okay.
So here, look at these graphs. So,
okay,
here's a Danish graph, right? They're mostly Scandinavian. They have Western and Central Europe and Eastern Europe in them, and Great Britain and Ireland, and I have all of those as well. The only thing I'm missing from them is, what does that say? Finland and Siberia.
Yeah.
Whereas I have others. So yeah, that's my first reference. So I'm the most. Well, I mean, this isn't an accurate statement, but like I am mostly Danish, I guess, according to my reference population.
Well, that still makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's attached to Germany.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like it's not too far away from at least even where that's where Prussia was.
Yes,
it was next to It was next to Denmark.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that doesn't not make sense. But like we don't. If I'm that much Danish as I am if I'm as much Danish as I am German, why don't we celebrate any type of Danish traditions? Other than
right.
So. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess we just have German influence. I mean, I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either. I mean,
but I did talk to Mom. Mom doesn't know for sure, but she had some of her family, the extended Tenius family, thinks that Tenius is, it's been like Americanized or Englishized.
Yeah.
But they think it was originally a Danish name.
Yeah. Okay.
Names from Denmark.
Yeah.
So that's the only lead, I have on why I'm 33% Scandinavian or Danish. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, our family has adopted certain German traditions, and that only maybe. I think mainly because we lived there, but when I look at my grandparents, my grandparents, they don't celebrate German traditions really, right?
Like
my mom's parents and my dad's parents, they don't celebrate those kind of traditions.
They're pretty cut off. They're pretty Southern American.
Yes, right. So they could have been some Danish or whatever, but they just don't celebrate those traditions because they've been cut off for so many years. What about when
we talked about, what was it, did I not talk to you about this, or there wasn't Mom or you telling me about, or someone with a Mavis name telling me about, how like, how we have, other people in the U.S. with the last name Mavis, but they're from like the Louisiana area. What I'm talking about? Ray Mavis, the guy that was like, Secretary of the Navy?
Secretary of the
Navy. For a while. But he's like basically not related to us at all. So what I heard from, I guess it's not you?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a Mavis group in Mississippi and parts of Louisiana, and then there's a Mavis group in Pennsylvania.
Maybe it was someone like Gail who did the Ancestry.com or whatever.
I think she
so
did.
So basically, yeah. So what they found out was that, so we all come from the same, person, the same Mavis family. We're all still, yeah, we're all come from the same family, right? But we just, so I don't know when, before 1900, before World War I.
Right.
There were two brothers from Prussia or Germany, that area, that immigrated to the United States, right? But one brother went to Louisiana, and then one brother settled in South Carolina, where our family's from.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Your family's from.
Right.
And the other one settled in Louisiana, where the other Mavis line
started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know enough details, so I mean, I know that some of the family members I have done some investigation on this, and I think Aunt Gail did that. Yeah.
I think it would be, I guess to close up the interview, I think it would be good if, if you and Mom did like an ancestry test, because then we can, not only can you find out your own ancestry, it would be interesting for yourself.
Yeah.
But it would also clue me in on where certain aspects come from. Like if you get your test back and you have no Scandinavian in you, or like, as much as I had like, Asia Minor in me, very little amount.
Right.
That'll explain, oh, well, that's from Mom. And
All
Mom
right.
will get it back, and she's
I think that's a good idea. So yeah, we will. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, be able to have that test done.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative. Good job, Brenden.
Thanks.